During the first lockdown, I was in Beijing in my home because the lockdown happened in China is really quick. And it was right after the Spring Festival, as far as I can remember. So I was there with my parents.
My life before COVID was I worked for about 35 years in finance. You know, it was a fairly stressful, high pressure, long day. So I ended up in mental health facility, being treated really for stress and anxiety.
Before lockdown, I was living in my family's apartment, but I was working a full-time job, so I would go to the office every day, work, and come home and like probably make myself dinner or see friends.
I was not doing a whole lot. I'd been out of university for 2 years. Nothing that really felt very meaningful. We met on a dating app.
We started talking probably in February 2020. We eventually met for the first time in March. 4 days later, we were official.
And I said, be my girlfriend and move in with me. If it doesn't work out, you can just go back home and we're back to square one.
Hello，
喂爸，
声音这么小，
啊，我声小啊，行吗？现在？
行了，
啊，好，你啥时候出差啊
我大概我看了。
My dad wasn't always at home when I was young. For example, if I can only see my mom once a week, then I can probably see my dad like averagely once a month or once 2 months, something like that. So we never really spent a lot of time together. After like 5 days, my dad just tell me that you're going to London. Do you want to learn how to cook right now? Then yeah, of course. I'm a foodie. I like to eat. Then why not cook?
When you're in that either anxious or depressed state, you're not in a position to do things. So you don't talk about it with anybody. And I hit on painting and drawing. And I pursued it quite obsessively as my antidote to work, really, because whilst my job was very logical, computer-orientated, painting and drawing just use a whole other sides of the brain. I was doing quite a bit of writing, but I was also drawing as well. And so, weirdly, that became my kind of continuing own therapy, really.
We'd always go on walks from the very beginning of the pandemic.
We would essentially walk, usually in the morning. Like we would get up in the morning and find a bakery. Usually it'd be like 1 hour, 2 hours walk. That was our way of having like something to do during the day.
I started playing a lot more guitar. I started getting lessons over Zoom.
And cooking because we had no other option.
Father didn't actually teach me how to cook when I was younger. I started to know that my dad feel guilty about his family, about my mom and I, since I was like 19 or 20. I start to feel that. But I just know that, and I couldn't change that, because what passed is past. One day, it was the first day that people can get in normally back to work. And he just parked the car from the garage to the front door. And my dad was sitting there waiting for me. And when I get into the car, suddenly there's a silence in the car. And my dad just told me that he finally feels that he got this chance to stay with me, to do something that he couldn't do for 20 years. Just staying with me, to teach me something. Yeah.
Isolation series, which was effectively my feelings at each stage of the pandemic. So it started this one, which was kind of where I felt at the start how it was such a relief not having to do anything or whatever. But then as the kind of weeks went on, you sort of felt that, you were becoming fairly isolated. I didn't expect it to be a series at this time, but then I started writing down which weeks I was talking about, eventually going up to week 100, which was where I kind of felt it might actually all be over, running around on the beach, a lot skinnier, but looking quite happy. So that was kind of a whole series I did, which I kept going all the way through the pandemic.
Every part of the apartment is some way marked by one of us. So much of the furniture, the interiors, even the little objects, the plates, are things that Zoe found.
We clean it, we decorate it. We have friends over if we can fit them all. It's just our little flat.
I feel so grateful that we met each other when we did, because I had a bunch of single friends who were single into the pandemic, and I think it was really difficult for a lot of people.
But we also it meant that we got to know each other, like beyond a surface level.
COVID meant we came to know each other more deeply and more quickly.
It's pretty magical and, yeah, serendipitous. And I just feel very lucky to have met my best friend.
This phone call to my dad, I was trying to hold my emotion there. I did feel that I got a chance at the lockdown time to know more about my dad and my family. The way we talk to each other, the way we hang out with each other, doesn't change that a lot. But for me, for inside of me, I think it changed hugely. So if COVID never happened, I think my life now may be different. Yeah.
I know for a lot of people, COVID was a terrible experience and people lost, loved ones. But for me, that, just the timing of the whole thing, which I almost never have any other time in my life, just to process stuff. No other time in my entire life would one have had to just sit and think about the world.